Jim Branscombe here for the Cinematic Void vlog. Since we're still in spooky season, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do another little list. This is actually an addition to the top 10 films set on Halloween list that I just put out. And based on a bunch of the recommendations, comments, and films mentioned in that list by you, the viewer, I was like, you know what, maybe I should just do another list because there's plenty of other like Halloween set movies that I really love and kind of want to talk about. So yeah, just gonna be doing 5 more here. I could easily done 10, but I think let's just do 5 for now and just see where it lands. Again, since this is a continuation of a previous list, I'm gonna abide by the same rules. So 1 film per filmmaker and 1 film per franchise. So you won't be seeing any Night of the Demons sequels or Halloween sequels in this list. This is just gonna be 5 more movies set on Halloween. So why don't we just get into our goodie bags and see what we got here. Coming in at number 5 on my 5 more films set on Halloween list is a bit of a slasher parody spoof that takes place on Halloween. It is Graydon Clark's Wacko. For those who haven't seen the movie, basically there's this lawnmower killer that wears a pumpkin on his head that wants to kill any teenager that has sex, which, you know, for a horror slasher movie in the 70s, 80s, that's gonna be primarily a lot of people. Anyway, it kills one of the character's sisters. 13 years later, that character, who's now in high school, thinks that the lawnmower killer is going to come back. The cast stars Jodan Baker, you know, from Walking Tall, and of course, Mitchell, for all you Mystery Science Theater 3000 heads, George Kennedy, Stella Stevens, Charles Napier, and the film debut of one Andrew Dice Clay, back then known as only Andrew Clay. This movie's definitely in the Airplane style of like spoofy comedy, so how much you enjoy it, your mileage will vary depending on how much you like those kind of films. A lot of these jokes are pretty dated. Actually, come to think of it, probably most of these jokes were pretty dated when the movie came out. But if you're looking for something a little different for your Halloween season viewing, why don't you just go Wacko. For number 4 on my 5 more films set on Halloween list, we're gonna get into a little mexploitation here with a film directed by Ruben Colando Jr., who also directed Don't Panic, one of my favorite Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street ripoffs, if you haven't ever seen it. But this movie's called Cemetery of Terror. The film stars Hugo Stiglitz, best known for being in Umberto Lenzi's Nightmare City and also being name-checked in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. Basically, it's kind of a weird mix of John Carpenter's Halloween and a zombie movie. For those who haven't seen the movie, some medical students break into a morgue, steal a body of a serial killer, and guess what? Reanimate him. And guess what else happens? More zombies are reanimated. The movie's a fun blast to watch. There's a lot of goofiness, but there's a lot of gore, great Halloween vibes, and Hugo Stiglitz is channeling Donald Pleasance a little bit, especially when he's going looking for the body of the killer. So if you've never checked this movie out, Vinegar Syndrome put it out on Blu-ray. I believe it's currently on Shudder, so why don't you give Cemetery of Terror a spin if you're looking for something a little different for your Halloween season viewing. For number 3 on my 5 more films set on Halloween list is basically was a TV special that aired in the 90s on the BBC. It is called Ghostwatch. Ghostwatch was pretty infamous at the time it came out because a lot of people thought it was real. Even though there was a writer's credit and there was all the setup to let you know this wasn't a real live investigation, you know, people over in England actually thought it was because a lot of them tuned in late. It actually featured a lot of BBC talking heads and people that appeared on news programs, so it kind of made it more authentic. I mean, basically it's just about like a live newscast at a haunted house and things go crazy. Definitely an inspiration for things like Late Night for the Devil and Blair Witch Project. Often get compares to WNUF Halloween special, things like that. So if you've never seen Ghostwatch, I believe it's on Shudder right now. There's actually a really nice Blu-ray set that came out I guess maybe a year or 2 ago. But yeah, if you haven't seen Ghostwatch, put it on your spooky season queue. For number 2 on my 5 more films set on Halloween list is a movie from 2002 directed by Lucky McKee. It is called May. May stars Angela Bettis, who basically plays an awkward woman who basically has trouble making friends, has a really unique doll that her mama made her. When that doll gets destroyed, she decides to make her own doll, except she's going to be hacking up her favorite parts of people she knows and building the doll that way. If you haven't seen May, definitely check it out. It is a really great movie. I remember seeing when it first came out and just being kind of blown away with it. Obviously there's the Halloween section of it, but there's a lot of homages to, you know, horror films. There's a Dario Argento name drop. And, you know, Angela Bettis gives an incredible performance throughout. And on a fun side note, part of the editing team on this movie was Ryan Johnson, who went on to direct the Knives Out movies, and Chris Severson, who directed my favorite Neo Giallo, which is I Know Who Killed Me. And taking the #1 spot on my 5 more films set on Halloween list is Jeff Lieberman's Satan's Little Helper. This is a really kind of underrated slasher movie. Jeff Lieberman had directed things like Blue Sunshine and Squirm in the 70s, and he's made films like throughout the decades, and you know, honestly, all his films are worth checking out. This film being no exception. For those of you who haven't seen Satan's Little Helper, basically a little kid runs into a person dressed as the character from his favorite game, which is called Satan's Little Helper. It's a guy in a devil mask. And he decides to hang out with him, not realizing the guy in the mask is actually a serial killer. And because the kid is so in love with the video game, he thinks everyone that this guy is killing is just part of a video game. Except it is not. It is bloody, gory reality. I actually did a Q&A with Jeff Lieberman back in 2016 when this movie was restored. It was a really great screening, really great conversation with Jeff. And if you haven't seen it, this is definitely a really great, dare I say, underrated Halloween slasher classic that definitely check it out. So that wraps up my 5 more films set on Halloween list. Sound off the comments, let me know what you think of this list. Also, let me know if you want me to do more little supplemental lists like this. You know, it's kind of fun to kind of expand upon a top 10 list with another 5. I guess kind of defeats the purpose of a top 10, but also, what I hope you get out of is the opportunity. If there's something on either of these lists you haven't seen, you go check them out, because that's kind of what I hope people do, is just check out more movies and maybe find some more Halloween seasonal favorites. And if you enjoy this video, make sure you like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 all that stuff that YouTubers are supposed to tell you. But until next time, happy Halloween, and see you in the void.
I don't understand. Forget it. All I know is today's October the 31st.